Hello everyone, this is Padma from Pramati Hillview Academy. In this lecture, you're going to learn about economics. Economics is the social science of studying the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services, and it is a complex social science that spans from mathematics to psychology. Economics is derived from two Greek words, okio and nomos, which means home management or also household management. Students, we can come across the word economics, economy every now and then. So let's begin to learn more about economics. We shall learn about co- few economic concepts in this session. Let's start with the first concept, the story of village Palampur. The village Palampur is an hypothetical village which is very close to Raniganj. A big village is 3 kilometers from Palampur and it is well connected with Shahapur also. It has got good roads and all weather roads can be found in this village. Many kinds of transport are visible in this village of Palampur. In this slide, you can see tractors are used to transport the goods from one place to other. Good markets are also available in this village. This village has about 450 families belonging to several different castes. The 80% of the family owns the majority of land in the village. Their houses, some of them are quite large, are made up of rocks, made up of bricks with cement plastering. Poor farmers in the village live in huts and sheds. The, this comprise one third of the population and live in one corner of the village and in smaller houses, some of which are made up of mud and straw. Most of the houses have electricity connection. Electricity power is also used for tube wells in the fields and is used in various purposes for small businesses. Palampur has two primary schools and one high school. There is a primary health center run by the government and one private dispensary where the sick are treated. The description above shows that shows that the Palampur has fairly well developed system of roads, transport, electricity, irrigation, schools, and health center. Compare these facilities with those in your nearby villages. The story of Palampur, an imaginary village, will take us through the different types of production activities in the village. In villages across India, farming is the main production activity. The other is the main production activity. The other production activities referred to as non farming activities include small manufacturing, transport, shopkeeping, etc. We shall take a look at both these types of activities after learning a few general things about production. About factors of production, taking an example with story of village Palampur, the first requirement is land and other natural resources such as water, forest, etc. Land is very important for all the other activities which is performed by the human being. It might be with construction of roads, practicing agriculture, and other other things or even buildings also, land becomes a very important requirement. The second requirement is labor, that is people who will work. Some production activities require highly educated workers who are called as skilled labor also to perform the necessary task. Other activities require workers who can do manual work. Each worker is providing the labor necessary for the production. The third requirement is physical capital, that is, it has two types. That is, one is the fixed capital and working capital. Tools, machines, buildings, etc., are considered as the fixed capital, as the investment on this could be there for a longer period where we can use it until it is until where we can work with it. Then we have the working capital, where raw materials and money are known as working capital. And each type of industry requires its own raw materials. For example, in an agro-based industries, we need sugar cane as to manufacture sugar. We need sugar cane. For iron and steel industry, we require iron as the raw material. So, raw material and money. Money is very important to start any activity. So, this is called as the working capital. The fourth requirement we have is knowledge and enterprise, where we put together land, labor, and physical capital and produce an output either to use yourself or to sell in the market. For example, we use land. On land, we construct an industry. After constructing an industry, for an example, once again, we have started a iron and steel industry. We use iron as the raw material. For that, we need capital and machines. That is uh, the third requirement, which is the physical capital. The fourth one, we need enterprise, knowledge and enterprise, where put together all those things where we can have the end product. That might be anything which comprises of the final output using iron ore. The four nowadays, human resources is also a requirement in the production activity. Land is fixed in Palampur, where 75% are dependent on farming for their livelihoods. Either they are farmers or farm laborers. Their well being is related to production on the farms. The farm production can be raised by increasing the land under cultivation, but no additional land has been brought under cultivation in Palampur after 1960 except waste lands. To overcome this, the farmers in Palampur practice multiple cropping. To grow more than one crop on the same piece of land during the year is known as multiple cropping. During the rainy season, that is the Kharif season, farmers grow jowar and bajra, which are used as cattle feed. Kharif cultivation is followed by potato cultivation in the months of October to December as the third crop. During the winter, farmers grow wheat and the surplus is sold in Raniganj market. Also, farmers grow sugarcane in their fields, and sugarcane is an annual crop. And sugarcane in its raw form or as jaggery is sold in to the traders in Shahapur. Farmers in Palampur use electricity, and this is the reason behind the success of well-developed system of irrigation. Availability of electricity has changed the uh, farming pattern in Palampur, where they use tube wells for irrigation and sprinklers, which make them to grow more crops in a year. Multiple cropping also leads to where farmers grow more than two crops in a year, and use of modern methods of farming also leads to the more yield per hectare in Palampur. With the introduction of green revolution, that is, green revolution means where the introduction of high yield variety of seeds and increased use of chemical fertilizers and irrigation led to the increase in production needed to make India self sufficient in food grains, thus improving agriculture in India. And Palampur has practiced this, where they use modern techniques for farming. Also, they use hybrid varieties of seeds, where which gives more yield per hectare. Higher yields were only possible with the combination of HIV seeds, irrigation, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, etc. Will the land sustain? Lands are associated with the loss of soil fertility due to increased use of chemical fertilizers. Also, groundwater level for tube well irrigation has reduced. In raising production, a great deal of pressure has been put on land and other natural resources due to overuse of land and use of chemical fertilizers. Soil has lost its fertility, and also due to large amounts of water required in modern farming methods, the water table below the ground level has reduced, impacting further the fertility of the soil. How is land distributed in Palampur? In Palampur, all the people engaged in agriculture did not have sufficient land for cultivation. Out of 450 families in Palampur, 150 families are landless, and most of them are Dalits. 240 families out of those which own land cultivate small plots of landless and then 2 hectares, which does not bring adequate income to the farmer family. So they have to look for additional work during part of the year. This is how the farming is practiced in Palampur. Who will provide labor to the farmers then? Small farmers, along with their families, cultivating their own lands, and many of them will work in farmers. Many of them work in the landlord lands also. Unlike farmers, farm laborers do not have a right to over the crops grown on the land. These labors can be paid in cash or in objects like crops. Sometimes they get meals also, but this varies widely from place to place, from crop to crop, and from one to another. There is also a wide variation in the duration of employment. The laborers may not be hired for the full year. They may be hired on a daily basis or for particular activities like sowing and harvesting. Labor is the most important factor for agriculture production. The capital needed in farming. We already know that the modern farming methods require a great deal of capital, so that the farmer now needs more money than before. Most small farmers have to borrow money to arrange for the capital. They borrow from large farmers or the village money lenders or the traders who supply various inputs from cultivation. The rate of interest on such loans is very high. They are put to great distress to repay the loan. In contrast to the small farmers, the medium and large farmers have their own savings from farming. They are thus able to arrange for the capital they need for cultivation. The surplus of the farm products are sold in the nearby towns and cities, where they take it to Raniganj or Shahpur, where they get some money. They sell wheat and other products to the nearby market. The other non farm activities practiced in Palampur are dairy, small scale manufacturing, traders, and transport. The after farming, dairy is the most common activity in Palampur. People feed their buffaloes on various kinds of grass like jowar and bajra grown in the rainy season. The milk produced is sold in the nearby large village. Raniganj, large village Raniganj. It has collection cum chilling centers run by two traders from Shahapur town to transport the milk to faraway towns and cities. Small scale manufacturing. Currently, very few people, less than 50 people, are engaged in manufacturing sector in the village of Palampur. Manufacturing in Palampur involves very simple methods and is done on small scale in contrast to the manufacturing that takes place in big factories or towns and cities. Traders or shopkeepers, they are very few people in Palampur who are involved in trading. The traders of Palampur are shopkeepers who buy various goods from wholesale markets in the cities and sell them in village. A few of the families whose houses are close to the bus stand have used a part of their space to open small shops. They sell eatables also. Transport is the most important non farm activity practiced in Palampur. A number of vehicles run on the road that connects Palampur to Raniganj. Many people are in the transport service, that is, rickshawalas, tongawalas, jeep, tractor, truck drivers, and people driving the traditional bogie and the bullock carts. They take people and goods from one place to another and in return get paid for it. The number of people involved in transport has grown over the last several years. So we the, we learned about a few concepts in economics, taking the example of story of Palampur, that is factors of production. Land as an important requirement for production, multiple cropping, green revolution, distribution of land, the work of agriculture laborer, capital and farming, and non-farming activities. Thank you, students.